Hello everyone, Cerceon here. How are you all doing today? After taking a short break to do a shiny hunt that had been on my mind for ages, I'm back to find out whether or not I can beat Pokemon Legends Arceus with only Hoennian Pokemon. The rules of the run are as follows. I can only use Hoennian Pokemon in battle. I'll also only be allowed to catch and battle Hoennian Pokemon in the wild. No using items during trainer battles, and no using glitches or exploits. Feel free to comment down below whether you think I can win or not. I'm pretty sure I'll be able to beat the base game, however I have a sinking feeling that Volo is going to give me a very serious run for my money. With all that out of the way, let's get into the run. We get our usual isekai introduction to the world of Pokemon and wake up on Prelude Beach where, hold on, I feel like something's wrong here, but I can't quite put my finger on what. Regardless, we quickly scoop up our newly transformed Argphone and help Professor Laventon wrangle up his runaway Pokemon. We're then forcefully conscripted into Laventon's Pokédex completing escapades and are brought to Jubilife Village. Once there, we get called sus by some random street cook before the village dingus Ray walked over to laugh at us for our flimsy fashion. We then eat the night away with our newfound friends before being tasked with catching a Bidoof, Starly, and Shinx by Captain Celine the following day. Laventon lets us take one of the 3 Pokemon we caught the prior day with us on our adventure, and I elect to go with Oshawa so Cyndaquil can have his own little break from these challenge runs. We then have a quick battle with Volo before heading to the Fieldlands to quickly catch our desired targets. After acquiring said targets, we return to Jubilife Village where we're awarded the Survey Corps uniform from Captain Celine and a severe spinal fracture from Commander Komodo. We quickly complete Ray's crafting tutorial shortly afterwards before being handed our very own spiral-bound Pokédex from Professor Laventon. With all the tutorial bits and tids now out of the way, we can head back to the Obsidian Fieldlands and begin our challenge. I start the challenge off by catching a box full of Wurmple with surprise strikes. Not only does this help Wurmple get a completed dex entry, but by evolving some of them during either day or night, I'm able to score a few research points for each of Wurmple's evolutions. This earns us enough research points to increase our rank, so we quickly report to Captain Celine to receive our first star. The next day, we get challenged to a battle by Ray and quickly KO his partner Pikachu with 2 confusions from Dustox. We then head back to the Fieldlands and catch several more Wurmple in preparation for our battle with Mai. Her Munchlax's rollout proved to be quite dangerous in our Johto-only playthrough, so I refrained from fighting her until I had a full team of Dustox and Beautifly. It was during this time that I caught a Wurmple that I saw a lot of potential in, so I named him Handsome and thankfully evolved him into my desired evolution. With my legion of Lepidoptera at my side, I made my way over to Mai and made short work of her menacing Munchlax. Handsome then tore through the Alpha Cricketune terrorizing Deer Track Heights before Ray swung by to help us set up a secondary base camp for the Fieldlands. The next day we meet the leaders of the Diamond and Pearl clan who are here seeking the Galaxy team's aid in dealing with the rampaging Kleavor. Being the benevolent leader he is, Commander Komodo passes off the responsibility onto me, which means we're off to the Grand Tree Arena to speak with Kleavor's warden, Leon. However, the troublesome twerp refuses to aid our endeavors and sicks his gruesome Goomy on us, which we immediately plaster across the forest floor. The Pipsqueak prodigy accidentally lets a valuable piece of information slip out, which we swiftly deliver to Professor Laventon back at base camp. After crafting an airtight strategy back at his lab, we return to the Fieldlands where Adaman and Mai teach us how to call the Deer Track's protector Weirdeer to our aid at a moment's notice. We have a quick clash with Irida back at the Grand Tree Arena before battling and pacifying the Pearl Clan's Manic Mantis. When we go to tell Laventon about our astounding accomplishment, we are told that we've only earned half the points necessary to earn our second star, which means we're unable to take on Arezu's request to tackle the rampaging Ursaluna in the Crimson Mirelands the following day. To remedy this, I trek back to the Fieldlands to complete a myriad of Wurmple and its evolutions research tasks. After about 2.5 hours, we were successfully able to score enough research points to increase our rank. We then received our second star from Captain Celine before blitzing through Ray's pathetic excuse for a team and heading off to the Mirelands to speak with Warden Kalaba. After she tells me to buzz off, we have a brief battle with Volo, who tells us about a trio of thieves that ran off with a fragment of the Salacion Ruins wall. We track them down to their nearby campsite where we effortlessly clap Coin's Toxicroak before returning the stolen wall fragment to Warden Kalaba. She then asked for our aid in tuckering out Ursaluna. However, instead of immediately going over to the Sludge Mound to battle the Berserk Bear, I elected to ride across the Mirelands in search of some temporary party members. The first Pokemon we stumble upon are some rocks that I bait with berries before sneaking up to catch them with surprise strikes. We then catch a few Roselia on our way over to the bottom tip of the Mirelands where we're able to nab some Barboach from the nearby stream. Upon checking the stats of my newly acquired Pokemon, I realized that one of my rocks not only had the best possible nature I could ask for, but also some pretty decent EVs to boot. So I named him Astolfo and made my way over to the Sludge Mound to confront the Manic Majora. Our Barboach starts the battle off with a meaty water pulse, but gets one-shot by Ursaluna shortly afterwards. Roselia is able to slowly start whittling down Ursaluna's HP, but gets one-shot similarly to Barboach. However, Barboach and Roselia's sacrifices aren't in vain, as Handsome is able to come out and clear Ursaluna's remaining HP with a critical air cutter. Kalaba then gives some Toxicon to the tuckered out Ursaluna to remedy its insanity before teaching us how to summon the mighty Majora with our Celestica flute. Laventon tallies up the research points we managed to acquire on our expedition before we go to report our mission success to Commander Komodo. Upon reaching the office of our kind and caring commander, we learn that Arezu's been keeping secrets from admin and are sent straight back to the Mirelands to learn the reason why. We end up finding Arezu with the help of Ursaluna, who tells us how she sprained her ankle while gathering the ingredients necessary to make some soothing bombs for Lilligant. Warden Kalaba and Adaman arrive on the scene shortly afterwards and decide to divvy up the task of giving Arezu first aid and taking her bombs over to the Brave Arena. We then swiftly sprint straight over to said arena and pacify the delirious dancer with a bountiful barrage of bombs. The Peanut Gallery thanks us for all our hard work before we set off to tackle the horde of research tasks we have to complete to earn our 3rd star. After about an hour and a half of multitasking multiple different research tasks, we managed to earn enough experience points to evolve Barboach into Whiscash and Astolfo into Gardevoir. We then tally up our research points with the help of Professor Laventon, who tells us we've earned more than enough to acquire our 3rd star from Captain Celine. We swiftly swipe our 3rd star before partaking in Benny's piping hot potato mochi with my gaggle of companions down at the Wallflower. The next day, we learn Arezu's decided to become our village's chief hairdresser before we're dragged down to Prelude Beach to receive some vague threats from Commander Komodo. Ray swings by to bail us out of this precarious situation before we mosey back down to Jubilee Village for a much needed change to our apparel. After finding the perfect fit for my character, we report to Commander Komodo, who tasked us with resolving the issues sprouting up in the Cobalt Coastlands. We immediately set off for said coastlands, where we're intercepted by Irda, who was looking for a rematch, but was instead shown just how adept Astolfo was at incinerating both her Pokemon. Irda then pleaded with us to help her pal Polina raise the Prior Lord's offspring into a noble, who immediately rejected our offer of assistance and instead pointed us in the direction of her hubby's humble hut. Our meeting with the Maribish man goes just about as well as usual, as we choose to go catch some spiel down at the seashore until nightfall. Once night swings around, we head straight over to the Deadwood Grotto, where we begin catching all the Dusclops and Duskull in the surrounding area. We then bring one of our Cycloptic Spectres over to Iscan's humble abode and have it fire off a Dark Pulse at a slab of meat to create some bait for Basculegion. We bring said bait down to the seashore, where we're successfully able to tame the phantasmal fish before the Misfortune Sisters swoop in to dognap Polina's Growlithe. We then sail our way over to Firespit Island atop Basculegion and confront the treacherous trio of thieves who watch in horror as Astolfo mercilessly one-shots every single one of their Pokemon. Paulina's Meekly Mutt arrives on the scene shortly afterwards and completely steals the thunder out of Astolfo's sails by evolving into Arcanine. Thankfully, the conflagrant canine receives some divine punishment for his crime, which gives us the opportunity to enact our own revenge by bombarding it with a barrage of bombs. We then watch Warden Polina say bye-bye Arcanine before heading over to Professor Laventon, who tallies up the research points we managed to acquire on this excursion. Instead of returning to Jubilee Village only to be told we aren't a high enough rank to explore the next area, I do the only logical thing and stay awake the entire night grinding research tasks across both the Mire and Coastlands. It took roughly 5 hours, but we eventually managed to scoop up enough research points to increase our rank and receive our 4th star from Captain Captain Celine. It was also during this time that we managed to acquire 3 new party members, those being Auron the Whiscash, Melanie the Walrein, and Abadir the Dustclops. We're tasked with quelling the frenzy of the Coronet Highlands noble the following day before having a brief battle with Adamant in front of the Galaxy team's headquarters. After thoroughly trouncing the Diamond Clan's leader, we head over to the Highlands where the local tour guide guides us through Wayward Cave. We then have a blink and you'll miss it battle with Melly before our tour guide brings us to our tour's final destination where he demanded compensation for his services. This resulted in a short scuffle where Astolfo annihilated his Machoke with a Moonblast before we switched in Melanie to ice both his remaining Pokemon. The terrified tour guide then offered to teach us how to call up Sneasler with our Celestica Flute if we promised to stop bullying him. We dawdled around the Highlands for an hour or so, catching and completing a few of Nosepass and Chimecho's Dex entries before making our way over to the Moonview Arena. After manhandling Melly yet again, Adamant swings by to remind us of the mission we're supposed to be accomplishing, and we use our freshly prepared batch of bombs to quickly pacify the Highlands Galvanic Apricorn. Our tour guide swings by to share a nugget of his wisdom with us before we report to Professor Laventon to inform him of our mission's success. Naturally, we learn that we failed to secure enough research points to increase our rank, so I spent another sleepless night grinding out research tasks across all the available areas of Hisui. We eventually managed to scoop up the last bit of points we required to rank up and make a mad dash to Captain Celine to receive the final star we need to beat the game. The following day, we're tasked with suppressing the frenzy of Hisui's final noble, which Ray decides can wait until after we've had a rematch. His team is almost able to take Astolfo out thanks to a critical hit from Staravia, but we managed to pull through before making our way for the Icelands. Once there, we're directed towards Avalugg's legacy, where Irida's teacher Garrick wished to test our mettle. Melanie made it clear who the superior ice type was around here before Garrick told us we'd need a chunk of eternal ice to craft some soothing bombs for Avalugg. After playing Sabi's usual game of hide and seek, she leads us into Snow Point Temple, where she asks us to prove our worth against her elite evolutions. Auron one-shots every single one of them before we head up to the temple's roof, where Sabi's brave Braviary also wished to have a go at me. Abadir is easily able to bring the valiant avian down with a strong style Shadow Ball, and after a rousing flute solo from yours truly, we successfully managed to tame Hisui's gallant glider. We then glide down to Avalugg's legacy to score a chunk of eternal ice, which Garrick mashes into some bombs over at the Ice Peak Arena. Avalugg's 4-phase loop is as easy as always, and after listening to an impassioned speech from Irida, we head to the Wallflower where Professor Laventon lets us know we'll always have a place here in Jubilife Village. With the end times upon us, we no longer have a place here in Jubilife Village, as Commander Komodo banishes us until we're able to prove we're not responsible for the current calamity. Both the Fieldlands wardens refuse to aid us in our time of need, however Volo thankfully swung by and offered to take us to a secret hideaway. Once there, we meet Miss Kokita, who tells us we'll need the power of the red chain to put an end to the apocalypse. We choose to bring Adamant along with us since we chose Irida last time and made our way for Lake Verity. Our arc phone opens the one sealed cavern wide open and we head inside to face off with an alpha Hisuian Gudra. Auron two-shots the drippy dragon with earth power before we were subjected to Mesprit's Mayas test, who awarded us a token of their favor for our emotional stability. We then made our way over to Lake Acuity, where Perun gobbled down Yuxi's Spectral Guardian with a strong style crunch. We easily passed Yuxi's pop quiz, which earned us our second blessing before heading to Lake Valor to repeat the process one last time. The Alpha Overquill brings about its own demise by lowering its HP into the one-shot range for Auron, and after playing a quick game of Dodge Bomb with Azelf, we receive our final blessing. We quickly take the 3 blessings to the Shrouded Ruins, where we watch in awe as the Lake Guardians merge them into the red chain. We then literally sprint straight into Jubilife Village to clear our name, but come to learn Commander Komodo has taken a squad up to Mount Coronet to throw hands with God. We attempt to scale Mount Coronet's snowy summit, but are barred from progressing by Benny, who threatened to use his ancient ninja techniques to put a permanent end to our journey. We are able to easily gobble down yet another Sinister Spectre with Perun's Crunch, who gets 2-shot by Sneasler's quick combo the following turn. However, this is perfect for us as it allows me to bring in Astolfo, who sets up with Calm Mind before tearing through the rest of Benny's team. Benny then begs us to stop Kamado by any means necessary, who challenges us to a battle after being chewed out by Adaman. Abadir is able to take out Kamado's Hisuian Braviary with a strong style Shadow Ball before the following Snorlax takes him out after a brief exchange of blows. We send Astolfo out, who sets up with Palm Mine before forcing Kamado to use a Max Potion after our Aura Sphere fails to get the knockout. I try again to get the knockout but fail and take a meaty Giga Impact before finally felling the blubberous beast the next turn. Kamado's Golem hits us with a decent double edge before being blasted into pieces by Astolfo's Energy Ball, leading to Kamado's final Pokemon Clefairy taking us out after setting up with Calm Mind. We send out Melanie, who has a fierce back and forth with the mighty Pixie, who ultimately falls to our tactical spamming of Iron Head. With Kamado's pride completely shattered, we can make our way to the Ancient Temple summit and challenge Dialga after weakening it with the power of the Red Chain. We're forced to catch the Temporal Deity, which means we've just failed the challenge, only minutes away from beating the game. Palkia then descends from above, equally enraged as I am, and forces an immediate retreat from the premises. Once everyone is a safe enough distance away, we begin conjuring up a plan to end the secondary calamity, culminating in us traveling down to the Primeval Grotto to obtain some special ore we need to craft this game's grand MacGuffin. Said ore is being guarded by the Misfortune Sisters, who Orin effortlessly swats away like the annoying pests they are. We then obtain our Origin Ore, which Ray and Professor Laventon craft into the Origin Ball back at Jubilife Village. Like always, we're forced to leave one of our Pokemon behind so Dialga can come with us, so we part ways with Handsome and scale the summit of Mount Coronet once more to face down the Celestial Stallion. And for what's supposed to be this game's final boss, Primal Palkia is such a complete letdown. The only thing this fight has going for it, in my opinion, is its banger of a soundtrack. Small tangent aside, we eventually manage to wear Palkia out and catch it in our Origin Ball, thus beating the game and bringing light back to the lands of Hisui. However, y'all know the video can't end until I've served Volo a sufficient helping of dirt, which means we've gotta complete his super fun scavenger hunt. The only play ever worth mentioning is the one I received for our rematch with Commander Kamado, so let's jump straight into that battle. He leads with Golem as I sent out Orin to one-shot the Gravelly Beast with Water Pulse. Kamado then sent in Snorlax, who Orin continued to trade blows with before finally besting the Tubby Tang thanks to a defense drop from Earth Power. Orin barely missed the one-shot on Kamado's following Heracross before being taken out by a close combat. We send out Melanie to finish off the Brawny Beetle before proceeding to easily sweep through the rest of Kamado's team. Having had his pride shattered a second time, Kamado relinquishes his most prized possession to us before we head over to the Fieldlands to begin grinding all my Pokemon up to level 80. I know I'm showing footage of me taking out Blizzies here, but considering my only other alternative is grinding out Glalie in the Icelands for hours on end, I chose to make this already extensive grinding session a lot easier on my sanity. With that small tangent aside, let's go over the team I'll be taking with me to face the Volo gauntlet. We have Astolfo the Gardevoir, Orin the Whiscash, Haroon the Glalie, Abadir the Dusclops, Melanie the Walrein, and Handsome the Beautifly. With our team's introductions out of the way, let's ascend Mount Coronet's cold summit once more to face this game's final challenge. We begin the battle by swiftly knocking out Volo's lead Spiritomb with a mighty Moonblast from Astolfo. Volo then sends out his Roserade, who instead of knocking out Astolfo with 2 poison jabs, chooses to set up spikes with its extra turn. We use this opportunity to try and restore some HP with Recover before whacking this wily lead away with Psychic. Our Recover was ultimately moot, however, as Volo brought out his Garchomp, who quickly finished Astolfo off with an Iron Head. We send out Melanie to blast the pseudo-legendary away with a quad-effective Ice Beam before taking devastating damage from the following Lucario's close combat. Melanie manages to take Lucario out with 2 Bulldozes, but gets crushed by 2 Rock Slides from Hisuian Arcanine the following turn. Orin comes out and avenges her blubberous bestie by slamming the fearsome fighter with Earth Power before 2-shotting Volo's Togekiss with Icy Wind. Left with no other options, Volo screams into the void for his sinister Senpai to strike us down. Orin survives Giratina's Shadow Force and proceeds to rest stall to waste the remaining power points of the Phantasmal Terror's signature move. This play works wonders as Giratina is eventually forced to take Orin out with Dragon Claw, a process that took so much time that Giratina ended up losing its obscurity status. Handsome then flutters his way into battle and successfully manages to bring Giratina into its second phase, only to be bodied by the resurrected Giratina Shadow Force immediately afterwards. And it's here, folks, where Perun and I decide to lock the muck in. Perun manages to get off 2 crunches through Giratina's obscurity before taking 2 aura spheres from the enraged Eldritch entity. However, enough turns have gone by for Giratina's obscurity status to dissipate, which gave Perun the perfect opportunity to gobble down one last grim ghosty with a strong style crunch, meaning we have successfully conquered the Volo gauntlet on our very first attempt. And with that, I can now say that it's sadly not possible to beat Pokemon Legends Arceus with only Hoennian Pokemon. We come so close to achieving a true victory but get Blazer kicked in the ball toys right at the end with Dialga. Even though this challenge certainly came with its ups and downs, I still find myself smiling now that the journey's over. Playing this game in such a unique way and using Pokemon I'd otherwise scoff at fills me with a mix of both intrigue and genuine joy. If you enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing and leaving a like. If this video manages to get 25 likes, I'll go ahead and finish up this region-restricted series with a Sinnoh-only playthrough. I've seen the overwhelming support on the Johto-only playthrough, so I know y'all can smash this video's like goal. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to catch y'all next time.